Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 10th and last episode of the Mthunzi Mvubu virtual hangout. These hangouts are brought to you, sponsored by the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture Digital Solution Fund. This evening, I have the pleasure of hosting one of South Africa's great pianist, composer, band leader, producer, and arranger, Mr. Afrika Mkhize. Hey, Mkhize, kunjani mfo?
Hey, Sapira, I'm doing well, my brother. Thanks for having me.
No, it's a pleasure to have you here, and thank you for agreeing to this and gracing us with your presence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the clip I opened up with is one of your great tunes to blow on.
Well, thank you. I think it's one of my first, or in fact, it's the only first Mpaqanga tune I've ever written in my life. So I was actually proud. You can't be a South African and not have a 145 tune. So I'm happy to have written a tune like that here.
Yeah. No, and I think the lyrics, they might be controversial for.
Yeah, but actually, let's not sing the lyrics today.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm just highlighting. I'm just saying, I dig them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think 145 really defines South African music, or it's just a period in South African history perpetuated by Gallo records?
That's a contentious issue. It could be a very interesting debate if one had to have it with scholars. But for me, I don't think that that harmonic progression existed before, let's say, the arrival of the Europeans. I think it's something that came with the church, the Catholic Church, and many other churches, the Protestants and other churches that came into this country. And I think it was our way of we basically took these church hymns and we gave them our own rhythm. But I think that the harmony comes from, to me, it sounds like Handel and people like Vivaldi. To me, that's what it sounds like, our version of it. But without the Europeans, had they not arrived, I wonder what our music would actually sound like. But that's a long story that would need scholars and historians to debate about that. Yeah.
No, I can imagine, because I've been checking out most of the talent scouts of Gallo Records, where most of them, some of them were musicians who were really into Mpaqanga, so I'm wondering if that's how it really became famous, to really define what this is.
I think you are raising what you are raising when you speak about Gallo. I think that's a very interesting point that you are raising, because that means that now we are specifically dealing with music that was recorded. You see what I'm saying? So can you imagine the amount of other musics, the other bodies of works that were not recorded? We cannot talk about it because we don't have.
Not selling.
Yeah, so I think it would be very, we would have to basically go to the villages. I think we would actually, me and you and some of us in South Africa as musicians, we would actually have to dig deep and actually go back to the villages ourselves and re-record the music that is there. And I don't think, with the department of, obviously the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, it would be interesting to have a project like that, because we can only talk about things that are recorded. But the other things that were not recorded, it does not mean that there's nothing interesting to be found in those other bodies of works.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. Yeah.
No, it is. We can't cover it within 40 or an hour.
Yeah, generations, 3, 4, 10 generations. Yeah.
No, true. And that clip I opened up with, where do you still remember where the gig was in the world with the Rainmakers?
It was it was in a small town, I think in Switzerland. I can't remember the town. Yeah, but it was like upstairs is a very famous restaurant, and downstairs is like it used to be like a wine cellar, and then the owner basically converted it into a space for performances. And this is quite small. If you look at that clip, it looks like a big venue, but it's actually a very small place that takes about 20, 30 people. And people love music over there. So yeah, it was quite nice to be in. I actually enjoy
Yeah.
playing in those places more, like it's much more intimate than playing in a festival, where the people are like 2, 3 meters away from the stage, and you know what I mean. So
Yeah, yeah, no,
it was
true.
an intimate setup, like, like Freedom Station, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Did you have any tours lined up with the Rainmakers?
Yes, I had. We had some tours with Rainmakers, and also with yourself, Mvubu.
Oh man.
uh, to be on tour.
Yeah, yeah.
And you are also supposed to be on tour with me, with our
Oh,
band as the Afrika Mkhize Quartet, and
yeah.
unfortunately, but I think these things are probably going to be, um, I think there's two words that are interesting for me when you talk about tours. Um, the one
Mm.
of the word is cancelled, and the other word is postponed. You know,
Oh,
uh,
yeah,
the
yeah.
one that I like is cancelled because that deals with the
Why?
contract. Because you get a cancellation fee. You see,
Oh, I see. I see.
but if it's postponed, there is no guarantee that it's actually going to happen next year. You see what I'm saying? There's no, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So it
yeah,
could
yeah.
be postponed, but it never actually happened. So out of those two words, my favorite one is actually cancelled.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, I haven't checked that out. That's an interesting
Well,
perspective.
mm, 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 yeah.
No, but at least we're moving somewhere with moving to level 2 on Monday. But I'm looking forward to level 1 and actually seeing how
Mhm.
we live with this virus. You know,
But what does level one mean for us? Are we allowed to do performances? You know what I mean?
I,
What does I think we're probably waiting for level zero. We are like the last people to be,
man.
you know. I think we should be doing more hangouts with you, my brother. It looks like we should be getting another 10 episodes very soon.
No, it's a different stage, and it's episode 10, and I'm not even used to it yet. The
Mm,
talking gig, but
yeah, but
it's been great.
it's been great for me. One thing, I mean, it's tough because we're not performing and all of that. But I think it's a wonderful time to practice. I would like to hear the kind of music that you've been writing, and also some of our friends as well. New compositions that people are doing. Because what can we do? We can only practice and write music. So I think we probably, people are holding on to beautiful music that we're probably going to hear next year when everything level zero, whatever it's called. So I'm looking forward to the aspect of people's writing. I think we're going to hear a lot of
Oh, yeah,
interesting music, South African jazz, or just from just musicians in general.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Talking about that, how have you been able to keep your spirits up during this time?
Um, well, like I was saying now, I've been actually I've been writing. You and I and many other musicians were involved in the Begum Selegut tribute, and I had
Oh,
written
yeah.
like 10 charts for that. So I'm actually, one thing I've realized is that Begum Selegut did not actually do a lot of records. He doesn't have, I don't think he has like 10 records.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm hoping that if I could actually arrange all of his music into like a big band format, if I can get all of his, I think I should have all of his records, maybe one or two things that I don't have, and basically have that entire body of work into a big band format. So I'm using this time to, I'm working on that project. So hopefully by next year we can have something like 100, 100 or more big band charts that are ready, that are prepared. So that's how I'm keeping my spirits up. And by doing that, when you have to arrange something, you have to basically learn the tune as well. So I'm actually learning a lot about his harmonic thinking, melodic, rhythmical concepts, and so I'm learning a lot at the same time. I'm having fun, and yeah.
Wow, that's enough to keep you busy for the whole year.
It's a lot. I might even call
So
the department.
is it more songs arrangements? Because you did some arrangements, some great arrangements of Mselegu's songs, some
Yeah, but
big
you see,
band.
remember,
Is
but
it more?
I've only done 10. Well, now I have 12 altogether. So I'm hoping to have at least, because I'm doing it album by album by album. So I'm hoping by the end of the year to have at least about at least 30 tunes. We might have to call the government and say, can we have more lockdown for 2021 so I can finish? No, I'm joking.
No more lockdowns.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Now, Mkhize, obviously, when you were growing up, you were surrounded by a lot of music, and you took up classical piano at around 11 years old to 16, if I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
How has that background really helped you in your playing today, and the facility you have now?
Yeah. I don't really know. I remember when I was when I was very small. I started playing when I was 6. And I can't really say I was playing. My father bought me a small Casio keyboard. Then
Yeah.
I think my tune was Nkosi Sikeleli Africa. With one finger thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my very first tune. And I used to start it in I think I used to start it in C, but I didn't even know what C was. Then sometimes I would
Yeah.
start it in D, but then I didn't know about I didn't know about F sharp, so I would play the F, and I was like, what's wrong? And then so I started figuring out
Oh.
that there's 2 black notes and there's 3 black notes. There's 2, so you've got 2 behind the 2 black notes, that's C. So I started figuring out the small things like that.
Wow.
So that I always start the
Yeah.
tune on the same note. And and then so that's how I started with this small Casio keyboard. I was in Mvubu, which my grandfather had a farm there. We still have that family farm there. And then when I was about 12, my parents sent for us in Soweto. So we moved in with my parents in Soweto. And so it's in Soweto and Dobsonville. So the closest music school was Funda Center. So my father sent me there. Well, both of us, me and my brother, we went to Funda Center. That's when I actually really started doing music formally. So yeah, it was in Soweto, but it was a very serious program, and we were, doing very interesting things. And then when I went to high school, then I went to the National School of the Arts. I was very happy to be. It's not easy to get into the school, so I was accepted, and I think I was accepted because of Funda Center. Otherwise, I don't think I would have been. We needed to have at least a grade 4 of classical music to get in, which was really tough. And so I continued with with classical music. But I don't know how it's. I think it's helped me in terms of. I wouldn't say playing, but I think in terms of understanding the vocabulary of music. You know what I mean?
And to get around easy, around the piano.
I suppose so. What's interesting is that as now I'm older. If I look at the tunes that I used to play when I was maybe 12 or 13, like Bach or Rachmaninoff, all of those things, I used to have smaller fingers, obviously, because I was younger. You see,
Oh,
so
yes,
I had the facility for that. when I was younger. But now my fingers are a little bit, you know, I don't know what Donald Trump is gonna say, but you see, so now my fingers are quite big.
No, I hear you.
Forget that. So for instance, like I sometimes have troubles to play the things I used to play when I was younger, like a chromatic scale, because then each finger has to go inside. You know what I mean? So I find myself playing things that have more like slightly bigger intervals, you know, because my fingers are
Okay.
quite long and quite thick. So I'm not able to see all the stuff that I learned. I can't apply it anymore because my fingers have changed. You know what I mean? So I think it helped me with just understanding the language. You know, for instance, if you say you know, 251 or C7 flat nine, that's just understanding that, being able to communicate with the next guy. For me, I think that
Oh
was
yeah.
one of the most important things that I learned. Yes, but then the rest is just listening to records. I think that's my biggest teacher, is being on
Yeah. Yeah.
stage and listening to records or playing with you and you know, hey Mthunzi, what is that? Show me what's that? You know, I'm always asking questions, and that's the thing that really helped me. Then school is great for just getting the vocabulary and semantics of it, and yeah. Mm.
Speaking about records, do you still remember some of the records that really shaped your playing, the way you want to play?
Yeah, you
One
know,
musician.
I'm very bad with names, like titles of albums, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yo, you know, when I was young, my grandparents were very much into church. So that music was very instrumental to me, like my development musically. And it was beautiful music because they were Roman Catholics, so they liked that sound, Espiritu Santo e Maria, that kind of stuff, you know. And harmonically, it was
Okay.
very interesting. And that was my grandparents. But then our neighbors next door, they were playing Vusklimba, and you know, it was another
Ah.
different sound, you know. And then
Yeah.
we had some friends. We had some friends in Durban who were Indian, you know, so they played things like Spyro Gyra. Um,
Okay. Okay.
so it was eclectic. I can't really say. I can't remember. Hmm. I still remember the very first record I bought with my own money when I first had I did a gig somewhere in Joburg and I had money, and the very first CD I bought was by Jaco Pastorius, the birthday concert. The very, very
Oh.
CD that I bought with my own money. So for me, that was interesting that I would have, because there was actually, there's a whole big band in that. And I didn't know that later I would be actually writing music for big bands. But that's the first record was Jaco Pastorius with the big band that he had arranged,
Oh
and
yeah.
you know, that he had done the arrangements himself. So that's the first record I remember. Yeah. Mm,
Yeah. No, I know that record is it's a
mm,
beautiful
mm.
record.
Yeah.
Did you ever tag along to your father's gigs?
Yes, yes. When when I was small, both
Yeah.
my parents, we lived in I think in Klipspruit or Pimville, you know. Um, so my mother used to work. She used to work at Baragwana Hospital. So one week she would work in during the day.
Yeah.
Then the following week she would work evenings for the whole week, right? So yeah, at that time, you know,
Yeah.
things were a little tough. So there was no, we didn't really have a babysitter or anything like that. Um, so my father would actually take me to gigs with him when I was small. So all I remember, you know,
Okay.
like 3, 4, 5 years old, man, like saw all the gigs. You know, I saw the gigs.
Wow.
Um, I knew about amplifiers. I knew about. I mean, yeah, I
Oof,
saw a
the
lot of gigs.
works.
You know, I didn't work, but I just
No,
I
no,
got
I
to
mean
see
like
them.
everything, the works. Yeah.
Yeah, like that, how the whole thing works, and the rehearsals, and you know, and I remember they used to talk about the amplifiers. Hey, Matota, find the amplifier number 7, and somebody would put the amplifier on number 8. So somebody wanted to be out, you know what I mean? They say, hey, boy, send the amplifier number 7.
Oh
I
yeah,
remember.
yeah.
I saw a lot of gigs when I was a baby. Yeah, yeah.
I'm
That must
guessing
have
by
had a.
then.
Mm.
Yeah, sorry. I'm guessing by then that's when you knew, Gucci, this is what you wanna do for the rest of your life.
That's wow. I don't remember asking myself that question. What am I going to do? You see, that's
Okay.
for me. That's a very interesting thing. I know most people, they have. I'm sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Oh
Can
yeah,
you hear me?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I know. I can hear you. Sorry about that. Because
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Kize. Sure. Yeah, so much.
Yeah, bro. Are you there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. Yeah.
Sorry,
Sorry, I didn't catch the last bit.
yeah, sorry, technology is good. Sometimes it just fails us. But I was saying that I know most of um, my colleagues, they say that, oh, when I was 15, or when I saw a particular concert, or when I met someone, or when I finished matric, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do this or that or that or that. For me, it's quite strange that has never ever happened to me. I don't remember making a decision that I'm going to play
I
music.
see.
It was just I don't know how to explain it, but it was like it just happened like that. From when I was born, and I've been playing ever since. I did maybe consider being a pilot or something, because I love
Okay.
flying until I started flying. When you're doing a tour and you go to Mozambique or other countries, and then it would seem very boring. You see what I mean?
Okay.
So then, if I wanted to fly, then I would have to be in a military and do I'm at B-52s, and so. But now that you see, now that has to do with war, and so the thing of flying, I don't know, kind of like I can
Oh,
fly,
yeah.
I can fly like playing giant steps, maybe, yeah,
You fly to a
yeah,
gig.
yeah. Mm, mm.
um, then later you went to Pretoria Tech to study jazz
Yeah, not for long. I was there for 6
composition.
months.
Not for 6 months.
I was,
Why
I
did you
went,
cut
I
it
was,
short? Was it not
uh,
you were hoping for?
well, I think I was speaking to, maybe a year or 2 years ago. I was speaking to, it's not that I was special or anything like that. I don't think it has anything to do with that. But there were
Yeah.
students, like you asked me a question, when did I realize I want to do this thing? But there were students who had just matriculated, and they had made a decision that year that they want to study music. They had not played an instrument. They did not know where
Oh,
middle C was, piano. And I was in the same class with people who had no idea. Um, you know what I mean? They had no idea
yeah,
what
yeah.
what this thing is all about. So for me, it was a little bit unfair, um, because I had been playing. I mean, I was playing gigs from a young age, and then for me to sit in the same. I mean, if they had said to me, "Okay, we'll put you with the third year students" or something like that, maybe. Yeah. So it was
Oh,
frustrating for me. It was frustrating for me. I tried. I really tried. Then 6 months after, I made a decision that uh, so
I
it didn't.
see.
It did. I mean, Salim was telling me this. This happened to Roy Hargrove when he went to Berkeley. He was
Oh,
frustrated
yeah, I
because
read
he
about that.
was already touring with Wayne Marsalis before. I mean, he was still in high school and he was going on tour with Wayne Marsalis. then he goes to Berkeley, and then he has to play "Fly Me to the Moon," and I mean, it's a nice tune, but you know what I mean? Yeah,
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 yeah. And obviously, you were playing gigs by then. And
yeah. I was
do you
playing.
remember?
Hmm.
Do you remember your first gig?
My
Your
very
first
first
big
gig.
gig? Yeah,
Oh, ah, my very first big gig. I
yeah,
actually don't. No, I don't remember. You know, see, I went to the National School of the Arts, right, in Braamfontein. In Braamfontein, there was a lot of venues.
yeah.
You know, there was wings, and they used to do like Battle of the Bands and stuff. So we used to go there all the time. And remember, the National School of the Arts, our gate, the entrance, our entrance faces the back entrance of the Civic Theatre. You see what I'm saying? So each time
Okay.
there was a performance,
Yeah.
we would basically enter the back of the Civic Theatre, and we would meet all the ballet, the dancers from the ballet companies. Or if there was I mean, obviously I wasn't interested in that, but if there was a music concert, I would go backstage at the Civic Theatre and talk to the guys who were there, and so on. So I got a lot of gigs like that. I don't
Okay.
remember my first gig, but it must have been somewhere in Braamfontein, or uh, probably 206 in Louis Botha. There used to be a place called 206. Very interesting place. Yeah. Mm.
Okay. And Kipis, obviously, it was still there.
Kippies was still there, but it was not my first gig. Oh, no, no, no. It was not my first gig.
Or
And
was it like the Orbit or what?
yeah, I mean, to play at Kippies at that time, well, I mean, I was a kid, like 97, 96, 97, 98. You see, 97, and Kippies was still very busy at that time. 97, I was 17 years old, you know, and I was already
Ah, I see.
against the will of my parents. I was playing gigs, and they were not really happy about that, you know. But you see, the thing about it is that the one thing that we don't talk about is that there was a
Mm.
period where jazz was very strong in Joburg, you know. And I was not born when that was happening. When Kippy Morgetsi, when those guys were playing, I didn't, in the
Yeah.
60s,
Yeah.
50s, 60s, I didn't see that, you know. In the 90s in Joburg, there was not a lot of jazz. It was more, I don't know what you call it, Afro pop or whatever, you know.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so when I started playing, we were not playing jazz. I was playing other things. We were playing, I don't know, with just different styles of music. There was a thing called drum and bass and all. I mean, I played in a rock band as well. You know, it's only
Yeah.
when, you know, I remember when Andile and Nana, when those guys came up with Lulu Konsana and Herbie Tswaeli, um,
Okay.
Marcus, you know, Brafair. You see, when those guys came up to Joburg, that's when really, really, really the scene started. You know, for me, that's, you know, it was not, it was reborn. You know, because I didn't see
Okay.
what happened in the 60s. So you would remember 44 Stanley or Calabar and whatever. That was
Oh
actually
yeah.
the
Yeah.
rebirth of jazz. You see what I'm saying? So if you wanted to be noticed, you had to go to 44 Stanley or Calabar or
Yeah.
Wish
That
or
was
all
the
this.
place.
That was the place. So that's when I started playing jazz. But before that, man, there was nobody was playing jazz. We were playing other things. We were playing other things. Yeah. Mm.
Wow. And you kept on like with this genre until now. Like what made you like stick to jazz?
That's a
Like like
misconception.
like growing
That's
up
a
without seeing anyone playing jazz around you close to you.
I have many friends, you know, and many friends know me differently. Depends who I'm talking to. There are friends of mine that they do not really know me as a jazz musician. I used to be a hip hop head,
Ah.
you know, organize
Oh,
at
oh
Carfax,
yeah.
which is not far from the museum or Nikki's, you know,
Yeah,
behind,
yeah, no, I
behind.
know Carfax.
We used to do we used to do like hip hop parties, you know, in the 90s, late 90s and 2000. And so there are friends who know me from that
Yeah.
time. you don't know about this jazz thing, so, and the language changes,
Well, it's
the
good
hip
to
hop.
know. It's good to know.
Yeah. So, Ayanda Sikade, he's our friends, So when he hears me talking to some of my friends on the phone, and he's like,
Oh,
man,
yeah.
Africa, why are you talking like that? Who are you talking to? Why are you changing on us? So I grew up
Oh,
having
yeah.
these different dialectic approaches to for me, it's all music, but I think that the thing that the changed, the change happened when I was given the Standard Bank award thing in 2012, and usually you have to do a record. So I did that record in 2012.
Yeah.
Eventually it was released. I think I released it 2015. So I started doing more jazz concerts. So
But
I think a lot of people,
2012,
if you think,
that's just like now, Mkhize. That's like yesterday. Really.
yeah, hey, to me, 12, 13, 14, hey, to me, it's a long time ago. But
Yeah.
but what I'm
Yeah.
saying is, um, it became a little bit more difficult to go back to the other things that I was doing before. South Africa is a very interesting thing. Is a very interesting place in the sense that once you do your own record, um, you are seen as someone who you no longer need to work with other musicians. I don't know if you know what I mean. You have to basically, it's
Yeah.
like you're
Yeah.
supposed to do your own gigs. You don't get the
I've
call.
seen it and felt it. I'm yet to experience it. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, I hope you don't experience it, but it's very
Yeah. Yeah.
different from if you're in Europe or in the States or other places in the world. But South Africa is interesting that once you do your own record, you sort of, you are in that world now, so it's like you're not allowed to do other things, or people don't call you anymore. So it's very, very, very interesting. But I'm still looking forward to hooking up with people like MXO. I had done his record a couple of years ago, and other people. Well, other people that I've worked with in terms of Kwaito and hip hop. I'd love to be part of that world again, because it's a lot of that
Yeah.
music. It comes from jazz. So yeah.
Yeah. No. Speaking about that world, the other worlds, Kwaito, hip hop, brings me to this next subject. The reason
Yeah.
why, one of the reasons why I asked you to help me with my record is that
Yeah.
you are a badass synth player as
Yeah.
well. Can you talk about the role of a synth player and what makes a synth player great? Because
Ooh.
I've listened, when I listen to some piano players play synthesizer, the approach is like piano. You hear piano, you don't hear synth.
Mm. Oh, in terms of approach, I've never really thought about the approach, but you see, when I was young, I mean, even now, I think one of my favorite bands growing up, even today, is Weather Report. You know,
Yeah.
the work that Joe Zawinu did has had a lot of influence on me, even till this day. Josh Duke is one of the persons who's got a huge influence on me, like in the way he approaches synthesizers. Josh Duke, Herbie Hancock, he's bad. He's done a lot of great stuff. But what I find interesting about keyboards is that they, when you hear a sound, the sound sort of, it dictates to you how it should be played. So if you play a marimba, you know that you cannot sustain the marimba sound. Does not sustain. You just play it once. You can play it long, but it's going to go bang, then it's finished. So obviously you have to follow up with another note immediately, because the notes are very short. But if you play a string or a pad, you know that the notes are going to be long and so on. So you have to think about the kind of voicings that you're going to be using. A cluster here, a perfect fourth here, or to open up the harmony or make it smaller. So
Yeah.
synthesizers are fascinating for me because for instance, I don't play trumpet, I don't play saxophone, but because of that pitch bender, I can get a moog. I can almost express myself like an alto player, or even
Yeah.
a singer. like put some vibrato, things that you cannot do on a piano. I mean, if you play piano, I don't know why you would not want to play a synthesizer. It's like it's also an extension of a human being, So I love Aretha Franklin, so I'm gonna try and that's my opportunity to phrase like Aretha Franklin on a or Busi Mhlongo or anybody else. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Well, Mkhize, you've worked with a lot of great musicians, but I'm guessing working with the late Miriam Makeba has to be
Mm.
at the top. Do you remember the first time you got the call for that gig, and how did you get the call to come be in the band and be a musical director?
Okay, that's a interesting one. I did not get a call. I went there to a friend of mine was performing there. Okay, and
Same
so
gig,
I come. Huh?
the same
Sorry.
gig, Miriam at the gig. Your friend was
Yeah.
performing. Okay.
Yes. I was accompanying a friend of mine uh, who later became my wife. So
Oh.
she was
Oh.
so she was singing at the gig. Now, what happened? I actually remember the piano player's name, but I won't say his name. The piano player never showed up for that gig. He never showed up.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so one of the musicians was like, "Hey, by the way, Afrika Mkhize is here. He's just around. Afrika Mkhize is in the building. He can do the gig." So that's how I got the gig. They called me.
Yeah.
I think he was on drums. Bab Fana Zulu was on bass. I can't remember who else was there on guitar. And literally we went backstage for 15 minutes and they showed me, because I was fresh from school, so I write charts. So there's like, this one goes like this, da 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 da, and then I wrote the chart, next song,
Yeah.
da 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 da. I literally had 10 to 15 minutes to do this, and
Wow.
then 15 minutes later, boom, we had to go on stage. But that was not that you see, I was not supposed to do the gig. I was just basically saving the situation, and I was actually, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, I was not interested in doing the gig. I wanted to play more other things. I didn't want to. But I'll be honest with you, I didn't really want to do the gig. So they said, "No,
Yeah.
Africa, look, there's a on the following week. Can you do the gig?" She
Yeah.
asked me herself. I was very nice to her, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I have to check my schedule." um,
Yeah.
but check this
Yeah.
out. I got a check. Um, uh, I got a check the following day. Somebody came to my apartment and they gave me a check of 7,000 rands.
Whoa.
You
For
know,
that gig?
yeah. And I was like, does everybody get like this? It's like, yeah, no, every gig is like this. Sometimes it's even more. Sometimes it's even more. Listen, can you please,
Wow.
can you please tell the old lady that I'm available for next week? So
Oh man.
that's how I got in. And then so I was making all of that money. And then every time I made money, that's how I got like modules and keyboards and all of these fancy things and software. And you see, now I could really, really go to town with the synthesizer stuff. And then, so it
Oh,
was.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh man. And was it with her that you first traveled abroad, or you had
Uh,
traveled abroad already?
yeah, when you say overseas, crossing the oceans, yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
That was time to let's put it this way, to get a passport. I didn't have a passport before. I didn't even know what that was. So yeah, visa. What's a visa? I didn't even know. I didn't know
Oh
all
yeah.
of those things. Yeah. Mhm.
And in a way, you lived your dream of flying. You wanted to be a pilot,
Um,
but
yeah, Really, there's I forgot this gentleman's name. He's a great sound engineer. What's his name? But anyway, there's a friend of mine who's an engineer, and he does every weekend he goes to somewhere in Pretoria or Machalis, and they do skydiving.
Yeah.
And I might pick that up. I've already done the those two towers in Orlando, the
Oh
jumping,
yeah.
where you
Okay.
jump. I mean, it's not flying, but I
Yeah,
just want to
it's
stay
close.
long. So maybe but I might consider to doing this. I think you need to do about 10 lessons, and then after 10 lessons you are qualified to jump on your own. So
Oh
yeah,
wow,
but
I didn't know.
look, man, I mean, moment's notice is enough for now. I can fly there. Moment's notice, inner urge, that's flying too. So yeah.
Ooh. And traveling with her, was it one of the reasons that you moved to Paris? Because
Mm.
officially, before I officially met you, you were in Paris. Then
Yeah,
you
I was
came back.
there I was there for a while. I think uh, this was 2000. When did I leave? I think I left 2001, 2002. I think 2001. Then I came back. No, 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 no. I'm lying. I left 2005. That's when I left for Paris, and I came back 2010. And I only came back because the World Cup was coming to South Africa, and I thought that there was
Okay.
going to be. I thought there was going to be a lot of gays, my brother. So hey, got my
Oh,
ticket back to South Africa. I only got one gig with Sydney Mnisi at the Soweto Hotel during the entire
ooh.
World Cup. I was like, this World Cup is for who? Yeah, I was in in Paris, man, because it was the stuff that I was doing here. It was kind of like similar, you know. It was
In terms of
bored. I think I was basically bored. There's what's that festival in Mamelodi, and then there's the Cape Town Jazz Festival. Then there's in January we used to have the Jazzathon, which usually is on the 5th of January, which is quite
yeah.
nice because to have a gig on the 5th of January. And then you have the Joy of Jazz and whatever, and then you keep doing all of these things. I got to a point where you couldn't move higher than that. There wasn't else. There
Oh yeah.
wasn't much else you could actually do. So I felt that I had to make a move, and I was still young. I was 20. I was 25. I didn't have kids, so it was the best time for me to move, and it was a great experience. And when I moved to Paris, I didn't
Yeah.
work with jazz musicians. It wouldn't make sense for me
Oh.
to work. No, no, no. I met a lot of musicians from West Africa, from
Mm, mm.
Central Cameroon, a lot of musicians from Cameroon, um, and what was interesting for me is that I became a baby. They were they were playing things that I've never heard. South Africans are not aware of music outside of South Africa. We only know South Africa. You know what I mean? Whereas if you're
Yeah.
in Cameroon,
Yeah.
Senegal, you actually know South African musicians. I'm not talking about style. It could be any style of music they know us, but we don't. Maybe we know Yusundo or Salificator, but we don't really know um,
Ooh.
that. So for me, I was hearing that kind of music for the first time, and I felt like a baby. It was in 998. Sometimes I couldn't figure out the time signature, and I said, "What time signature?" Say, "Hey, they don't even know what the word time signature is, so we couldn't
Oh
communicate."
man.
They don't think they don't have
Yeah. Yeah.
one, two. They don't think they, so it was a different world for me. So I'm grateful for that experience because I learned a lot. I mean, one of my songs is entitled "Rainmakers." That's
Oh yeah.
influenced by my
Oh, I
experience,
see.
that kind of time, and the melodic writing and so on. So yeah, that experience was I wouldn't give it back. I treasure that. Yeah. Mm.
Wow, wow. No, no, that's good to know. Now I'll play Rainmakers with that in mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Damn kids, we're about to close this up, man. But if you would get a chance to, I mean, you're still young, but if you get a chance to go back to your younger
Yeah,
self, what
yeah.
would be, what advice would you give to your younger self about the lessons you've learned so far about this industry?
Mm. Wow. um, the world. I would say to myself, the world is very big, and do not do not accept. When people say things like, "Oh, hey, what net die? Do you like this spell?" Like, don't, just those things are very, 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 very dangerous. I think it's
Mm,
always important to understand that the world is big, and I would say to myself, if you get a chance to travel, travel as much as you possibly can. I mean, just travel and see many people. I mean, in terms of music or things that have got nothing to do with music, just being in a different place, in a different space, in time. um, I think it does a lot for you in terms of your development as a human being. So I would say to myself, travel a bit more, and learn about other cultures. I think that does, and just makes you a
yeah.
better person and become more hipper, and and have kids later. Yeah, that's what.
No, thank you for that, Mkhize. Any other projects that you're part of, people should look out for in the future? I know you mentioned that you're working on some more arrangements of Ubabu
Yeah.
Buselegu's tunes.
Well, at the same time, I'm writing. I'm writing a lot of material. I'm actually working on my next record. Um, so that should be coming out next year. So yeah, I'm basically working essentially on two things: my record and the Mselegu project with the big bands. Or the third one is also the music that I've already recorded. I'm also transcribing that into big band format as well. So those are the main things. It's a lot of work, so that's what I'm doing right now. So hopefully,
Yeah,
when things
yeah.
open up, uh, we can play with you, Mthunzi. Yeah.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah. Mm.
Now, with all that being said, thank you once more, Kiza, for coming on and coming to hang.
Thank you so much, Mvubu. Thank you, Mthunzi, for having me. It's been great, my brother.
Yeah, no. Have a good night. Ngicela ungibulisele lapho kubaba.
Okay, ngizomtshela.
Sure, sure.
Sure.
Cheers. Thank you to everyone who's been tuning in all these hangouts. This is the final one. Hopefully, I'll see you soon in some stage somewhere virtually or live. Yeah, but it's been an interesting journey, deep end, quite frankly. So yeah, have a good night and see you